I guess the first question I want to come at you with is, how do you're voicing a robot?
Yes.
But somehow there's an emotion that comes through this robot who is supposed to be, quote unquote, emotionless.
Yeah.
How is it tackling a role like that where it's like you're supposed to not be emotional, but at the same time project some type of emotion for the audience?
Yeah. Well, the directors and I approached it from the same angle from the beginning, which was we want him to be a robot and not some magical thing that is, his soul is revealed or whatever. We want him to be a robot, but we want him to be able to generate emotions. And for their part, the animators have a face on Baymax, which is just about the most basic face you could possibly imagine. And the effect psychologically is that you tend to project emotions, and you can recognize yourself in a vague face. The less specific the face, the more people can identify with it. And so the voice is kind of the same thing, because you understand the situation watching it, and I am kind of skating a tightrope, and I fall to one side, it becomes too emotional, or the other side, it becomes too robotic. So it is, my job was to stay on that tightrope and then just lean one way or another, just tiny, tiny little hints about emotion, and then let the audience do all the work and imbue it with emotion. So that was the challenge, was to not lead them by the nose, but let them find it on their own, through their own emotional experience of what's going on in the scene. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely, yes. Did you have any influences in the way that you wanted to voice the character?
Well, I walked in at the audition with my own idea of how it should be, and they pretty much just kind of nodded and said, yeah, that's great. I don't know who else they'd listened to or what other takes there were on the character, but my idea, having read just the audition material the night before, and then going in and seeing the character design at the studio, the voice just hit me. It seemed like a very benign version of my own voice that you'd want next to you while you're sick. Someone who's not threatening and not boisterous, but just calm and comforting.
Right.
And then also with a robotic rhythm of kind of like a voice, like a automatic phone system, where there are blanks that must be filled in in any given sentence.
Right, okay. Yeah. Excuse me. So you didn't have any kind of vocal influences that you drew from? It was just something that kind of came to you?
No, just kind of like my mom, when I would be sick from school and she would come in and say, "How you doing, sweetie?" Or like a doctor who sits next to you and respects the fact that you're sick and just speaks very calmly and explains the situation to you.
Right. Okay. Yeah, no, interesting. That's definitely, that's cool that you kind of just made your own thing. I didn't want to go like, I didn't want to go with beef and boop like R2, and I didn't want to do like overly robotic for this character, like say K9 from Doctor Who. We wanted it to be, he's specifically designed to be comforting, so it had to be a very comforting voice. Right. No, and I think that by doing that, you've created a character that will resonate for a long time.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's something that's going to become unique and be one of those robots that everybody thinks about when they think about movie robots.
Oh my God, that's a huge compliment. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, also, I mean, I think whether or not they've said it or not, it's pretty evident there's going to be a sequel at some point.
I've not heard a word.
Yeah.
I can't give you even a hint of an answer on that.
Right. And I talked to Ryan the other day, and he said he hadn't really heard anything either. But I mean, it's pretty evident that there's definitely a franchise within the first film. Definitely.
Thank you.
But what, I mean, what drew you to the project?
Well, just the word Disney, pretty much.
Right.
And also, I'm a big Marvel fan. I'm a big comic book fan since I was a kid. So, the idea of Marvel characters being shepherded by Disney just is so appealing, and Disney has such an amazing track record. And you know, the films I can point to as being perfect, a good number of them are Disney films. So, you know, quality is what I, and it just, the opportunity to walk into the animation studio at Disney and look at all that history and then become part of it, one hopes, that's an amazing feeling. So there's no reason to say no to this.
Right. Did you said you've been a comic book fan since you were a kid. Did you go back and read any of the old Big Hero 6 stuff? Or did you kind of just go at it fresh? Because, I mean, I know they retooled most of the characters and kind of made them their own. But did you get some of that background or read it just to be up to date on it?
Well, I didn't have time before the audition because it happened, I think they called me and I went in the next day. So there was no time to go find the old issue. And so I went in just based on what they gave me, the material they gave me, and what I saw when I got there. After that, I went back and looked at Baymax and Hero and the Big Hero 6, and it is quite different. But the basic relationships are still there.
Right.
And Baymax is, in his Disney form, is based on actual technology being developed now at Carnegie Mellon of inflatable robotics that can handle patients without harming them.
Right. Now,
in the books, he's more of a warrior, and in the movie, he's a caregiver and a warrior because of the technology that's actually happening right now. So there's a good chance that, you know, within our lifetimes, we will have something similar to Baymax in hospitals and in home care and that kind of thing.
Right. Did you actually work with any of the other actors, like in person, or was it, I mean, I know for the most part, from, you know, dealing with the Star Wars animated actors and such, that most of the time you record by yourself. Did you do...
Yeah, I've worked on my own projects for animation at Adult Swim, and on various other animations, and quite often we did it as a group to get the timing right. With Big Hero 6, it was my first real experience of being alone in a scene and reporting. The cast didn't meet each other until the film was finished, and we had a cocktail party and screening at the studio, and that was when we all finally saw each other face to face. We were mostly acting against the directors who would feed us the opposite lines, and they are, you know, obviously very creative and know exactly what they want from the scene, and so their acting fed me very well. They're not the best actors, but they knew how to get what they needed out of me. And they also allowed all of us to have our own timing, so it wasn't like going line by line and going back and doing the line again and all kind of isolated lines. We did go through the scene as a scene and got the timing down right. And then we'd go back and kind of like redo a line here or there. But they allowed the timing to be the actors, which I really appreciated.
Right. Where do you see Big Hero 6 fitting in the future and with Disney?
I don't know. I have no idea. It would be presumptuous to say it would be some kind of classic. I think it's a great film. And I would hope that when you go to Disneyland, you see some indication that the movie existed. That'd be great. I think right now there are Baymax balloons at Disney you can buy, and they glow, and it's pretty cool. And in Florida, there's the Baymax experience where you can go and meet Baymax and give him a hug and meet Hero. And that's pretty special. If that kind of thing goes on for years, I'd be delighted. And I was thinking the other day about if this character kind of like remains active over the next few decades, eventually I'll be handing off the reins to someone else, or I'll die, and someone else will be taking over the role of Baymax, which is incredible. That would be such kind of an honor to me, to think that there would be people, 50 years after I'm dead, imitating my voice. That's pretty heady.
Interesting. Okay. All right. If somebody hadn't seen the film yet, what would you say to them to, I guess, talk them into seeing it?
I would say it appears to be a kid's movie, and it is great for kids, but it's full of so many details with such true emotion, and it's a very kind of mature topic. It's in great part about loss and about death and how we deal with that. And I would say that it's really funny, and it's very exciting, and it's not just for kids, but it does speak to the kid we all are inside. Boy, that's corny, but that's true.
Yeah, no, it really is. I have a hard time sitting through animated stuff unless it's like Star Wars or, the DC stuff or the Marvel stuff. And I really, really thought that it was way ahead of the pack. And
thank you.
Yeah, and I thought that I would definitely put it up there with one of the better cartoons, especially for people like me that have a hard time sitting through an animated movie.
Yeah. How would you describe it as someone you were trying to sell it to?
Well, Disney might get upset with me because I know it seems like they're trying to kind of distance it while at the same time tie it together, I guess. To me, it's a Marvel movie that's animated. I mean,
I'm sure they'd be thrilled about that, because I think they're very happy to be working with Marvel. And I know that the people who created this movie are, especially Don Hall, is a huge Marvel fan. He's the director, and one of the two. And I think he'd be thrilled to know that you feel that it's more of a Marvel movie than a Disney movie, because they wanted it to be a balance. That's another kind of theme in the movie, is this diversity and also the melding of worlds, like San Francisco.
Yeah, because I was really... I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, this is like Disney, no. Or Marsney.
Right. My thing, what I found surprising, and I always did, was that the movie didn't hold the traditional Marvel logo.
Yeah.
Like Marvel, Disney, like together, it just kind of, I was kind of like, wow, why does it seem like they don't really want that Marvel identity attached to this?
I don't know. I never heard that mentioned around the studio or anything like that. I think they're very proud to be part of.
Yep.
She partnered with Marvel.
Right, yeah, no, and I know.
It just... We have time for just one last question.
Okay, all right. What do you got coming up?
Let's see. I've got a couple of movies that should be coming out this year called one's Fangirl, another one is Uncle Nick. Both are very funny and very poignant movies. And kind of edgy as well.
Yep.
And then I've got a pilot that's on Amazon Prime right now called Salem Rogers, which is very funny and it's been getting a lot of great press, but hasn't been picked up yet. And, what else? I'm working on a off-Broadway show with some improvisers that would be performed on, I think it was from off Broadway, but then also on Broadway as well.
Oh, wow.
It's a bizarre concept we've come up with.
Okay, one very quick one. Very quick. Animated or live action? Which one do you prefer?
To do or to watch?
To do.
What's the difference? Acting is acting.
Okay. All right. All right. Hey, man, thank you very much. It was a pleasure speaking to you. Good luck with everything. And,
Thank you, you too.
loved your performance in the film.
Thanks so much.